Australia recently had this thing where they said employees are not required to answer their phones or even check their emails and whatnot after 5 o'clock.
A law.
Yeah.
Damn.
You don't
Southern part of
sound
India.
Indian.
you want me to sound Indian? We can do this entire.
The reason we are doing this is because we have the opportunity to work remotely. Technically, we are supposed to be working. Bosses, please don't fire us. Alright, so hello everyone, welcome back to the Success Podcast. We are now in a new setup, as you can clearly see, and this took quite a bit of time to set up. No?
It was.
A bit more than anticipated.
Yeah. And every time you start in the rain season.
It always rains, yeah. And always there's some problem, no? So the camera got late. You didn't have the mic cable. So many problems. But anyway, here we are. We're starting now. And we're going to continue what we were doing when we were originally doing the podcast, which is we're going to take an IELTS essay topic and then we are going to discuss this topic. All right. So the purpose is that if you are going to face the IELTS exam and you are going to write an essay, you would ideally get some good points to write in your essay, because this is one of the main things that people struggle with. So what is the topic we have chosen for today?
We have, should people have the right to work remotely, or is it more beneficial to work in an office?
The reason we are doing this is because we have the opportunity to work remotely. Technically, we are supposed to be working.
How are you gonna talk
justify this to my bosses?
Yeah, exactly. How are we're gonna get fired?
Yeah, because we both work for the same company also.
Just make sure he doesn't see it.
Huh?
Make sure he doesn't see it.
Hopefully they're not gonna watch it. If you are watching it, bosses, please don't fire us. When we are not filming, we are working.
Yeah.
At least, we do work, yeah. All right, okay. So again, can you just read out the topic so that we...
Topic is, should people have the right to work remotely or should they be in an office?
Should they be in an office? What do you think? Overall...
Okay, so if you're answering this question, you're supposed to answer it in what? Are you supposed to say the benefits of remote working, or are you supposed to say why they should have the right, like which one is it specifically?
So this type of question, ideally you should discuss both sides. So one paragraph can be dedicated to why people should be allowed to work remotely, and the next paragraph can be dedicated to why people should work in an office. And whatever your opinion is, you elaborate it in that specific paragraph.
Cool. But me as a person, let's say I'm a student, dumb, don't know what I'm writing about. Okay?
Yeah.
I look at this question and I go, should people have the right to work remotely? Or is it beneficial to work in an office? So do I have to, so when I'm writing the 2 points, am I supposed to write, okay, these are the reasons why people should have the right to work in an office versus these are reasons why people shouldn't have the right to work in an office? Or do I take these are the benefits of working working remotely, and these are the benefits working in an office?
So now the question says, should people have the right to work remotely? Yeah. That's the first part of the question. And then the second part of the question says, what are the benefits of working
or is it beneficial?
Or is it
beneficial to work in an office?
Okay. Or is it beneficial to work in an office? So in that case, your first paragraph can be about why people should have the right to work remotely.
Okay.
And in that sense, elaborate the benefits of it as well.
So both. So normally you would write normally you would be
it's a fairly simple question. If you think about it in terms of, okay, why people should have the right to work remotely, you're looking at the benefits technically. Because if there were no benefits, then there should be no right to work remotely.
No. Because rights are rights. Rights are your rights. Like you can, I should be able to choose to work remotely. Isn't that what they're asking? It's not like what are the advantages or benefits you can gain through working remotely. It's about. But should you have the right as an employee to work remotely? Isn't that the question?
That is the question. But then, when you're writing, okay, we should have the right to work remotely. then we're also talking about the benefits technically, right? Okay, I have the right to work remotely because of these reasons.
Tricky question. Okay, fine. We'll move on with it to however you want to answer. How would you suggest we answer this question?
That's how I suggest to answer the question. You take it and you say, okay, we have the right to work remotely because of these reasons. And then you take the second point, which is working in an office, the benefits of working in an office. And now if you are talking about why it's beneficial to work at home, then you can obviously talk about why it's not beneficial to work in an office to further your point.
Okay.
Right?
So we have to approach this as benefits as not benefits.
Advantages and disadvantages, basically. You shouldn't read too deeply into the question as well. Okay. Because if we are having this debate at the paper, we have already wasted like 15 minutes.
Got it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's about thinking on your feet, thinking fast, and then coming to the conclusion that, okay, I have to write the advantages and the disadvantages. It's quite a simple thing if you think about it. Because if you try to overcomplicate it, then you're going to get really stuck and then you're going to be wondering. See, this is exactly what happens to a lot of people at the exam.
It would happen to me if I wrote it. Yeah.
Exactly. You would sit at the paper and you'd start contemplating, do I write about the rights of employees? Do I write about the advantages? Do I write about the disadvantages? Where exactly do I go with this question? And that is where people get stuck. And that is something that's really wrong, or that is something that you should not be doing ideally. Immediately come to a conclusion that, okay, this is what I have to write. As long as it pertains to the question, you're totally in the correct.
Got it.
Makes sense. So you're talking about the advantages and then you're talking about the disadvantages of working in an office, or vice versa, whatever you want to go with.
Yeah.
So you go with the introduction. In the introduction, make it clear what you're writing. Are you writing the advantages and disadvantages? So make it clear in the introduction itself, and then you come into the body paragraphs.
Got it.
Makes sense.
So where do we go with this?
So with this introduction, it depends. So I personally would write it in a way where working remotely should be a right.
Yeah.
It is more advantageous for both the company as well as the employee.
Why?
Okay, we'll take it from both ends of that spectrum. So if I look at the employee's side, it's obviously very beneficial for the employee to work from home because you're cutting down on the time to commute to work. Me personally, I live 1 hour away from Colombo. So that's 2 hours spent on the road. 3 hours if there's traffic per day doing nothing. So I can easily put that time into good use if I was working from home. I could even pay more attention to my health if I was working from home, simply because maybe I can sleep an extra. You get what I mean? And I could manage my work a lot better if I'm waking up at home and then getting directly into work from my home itself, as opposed to having to commute to work. So you save a lot of time by working from home. So you might as well be a lot more productive as well. So that's from the employee's perspective of it. From the company perspective, what do you think?
I think, okay, there is a case saying that, remember like when there was like this whole thing going on where there should be like a 4-day work week?
Yeah.
Remember that
Actually, stuff? You know, the Australia recently had this thing where they said employees are not required to answer their phones or even check their emails and whatnot after 5 o'clock.
That is standard anyway. It's not in Sri Lanka anyway.
It's not standard anyway. So Australia recently brought that forward as a kind of a rule or whatever. A law.
Damn.
Yeah. So employees are not required to like answer calls outside of work hours. Most people take that for granted, yes. But most companies expect employees to answer phones after 5, especially in Sri Lanka.
But you can't, but then you start working remotely, that law can't apply.
That's true.
Because like you're working from here to US, you're working off hours.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And even like if you take states, Sri Lanka is a small country where time zones don't really matter.
Correct.
You take 2 states like California and like New York.
Yeah.
That's like 2 different time zones.
And I think one of the biggest benefits for companies being able to get their employees to work remotely is they can hire cheap labor.
Yes.
we see that in our own company, right?
Yeah, like Sri Lanka's biggest. Why Sri Lanka is South Asia's best economy, or was South Asia's big? Well, it still is, I think. Yeah.
No,
second to India now.
Second to India.
Second to India.
Yeah.
We used to be the best.
Better than India? No
we used
way.
to be better than India. We used to be like the most technology developed.
This.
Fact check it. Sri Lanka was the most economically developed South Asian country.
Okay.
But how we got that is because companies started exporting cheap labor, like exporting all of their production stuff here because of cheap labor. For example, MS and Brandix, we are the biggest exporters of apparel. And that is purely because it's cheap. So then if they are doing it and they are just producing a product for cheap, salary is basically a monthly subscription.
Now now we are taking remote working to now Brandix, Mars and all of those companies are technically not remote working.
Yeah, so I'm basically coming back. So what we are offering as employees is a monthly subscription of a service, right?
Yeah.
It's my services I'm offering to a company.
Yeah.
For a monthly subscription, technically.
Yeah.
Which is a salary.
Yeah.
Which means there's nothing stopping us if a company like Brandix can export goods. I should be able to export my services to a foreign market.
Yeah.
Which is what working remotely means.
Yeah.
So technically, I should have that right.
Yeah.
To be able to export my services.
Yeah.
To a foreign company.
Yeah, true. But now Mars Brandix case we can't take as an example because they also have to come to an office in order to work. We are talking more about like digital based services.
Okay.
Which can be provided from home. When you say remotely from like home.
Yeah, so like what is cool. So
makes sense.
Remotely means work from home.
I think in this context we have to narrow it down to that. Because otherwise it becomes really broad.
Yeah, there's many forms of remote
there's many forms of remote working. So I would suggest, if you're writing an answer like this, now the most common thing is working from home, right? When you say working remotely, it's working from home. So you have to narrow it down to that context and then
but couldn't it also be like, let's say now remote working, another thing it does is it opens up way more employment opportunities to people who are more constricted by geography.
Exactly. That's the point I was also getting at. So companies can hire cheap labor from different countries so that they can make themselves a lot more profitable. That is also what the company we work for, that's what they're doing as well.
Yeah, technically.
It's a lot more expensive for them to hire people from the US.
Yes.
Because they have to pay them a pretty big salary. Yeah. It's a lot cheaper to hire people from...
how pissed off US dudes have to be when they have to call customer care and it's some Sinhalese dude talking to them?
Yeah, man. Like the amount of filth that even I have heard is crazy. But
even Indian guys, like...
They hate the Pakistanis with a passion. Yeah. And they naturally think that we are also Pakistanis.
They all look the same.
So there's a lot of racist comments that come through. Better not to say it here.
I mean, to be fair, like to call up like your bank and some Indian dude is talking to you as customer service.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes sir, what do you want?
Please don't. We're gonna get cancelled, bro.
But I'm Indian. I can say this. I am. By the way, I am Indian. I come from.
You don't sound Indian.
You want me to sound Indian? We can do this entire podcast like this.
Yeah, please don't.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the
Please don't.
Academy podcast.
No.
Bro, I have it in me. Don't bring it out.
Don't. Okay, so anyway, now we have spoken about how or why remote working is beneficial. So from the employee's perspective, it saves time. Cheap labor, that is from the company's perspective.
Yeah.
What else can we talk about?
I think like from like a society's perspective, you're getting more employment. You get yourself open to
from the employee's perspective, you get opened up to more opportunities. If you are allowed to...
No, but like as a remote, let's say I'm a freelancer and I work remotely.
Yeah.
more people are like having access to working more because of the ability for companies to accept remote working.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So as society, we benefit because everyone gets employed.
Yeah. And we open ourselves up to global opportunities.
Yeah, global.
As opposed to
exactly.
Yeah, just being stuck to the job.
Our talents get globalized.
This market. Correct. So we get exposed to more global opportunity. That's probably the third one that we can talk about. What are the disadvantages of working at an office?
Disadvantages of working at an office or disadvantages of not working.
No, disadvantages of working in an office. So to further our point of
I think it's just number one, happiness. It sucks, but let's leave that out. Let's say, okay, fine, like, you need to suck it up and work. That's what your dad would say and my dad would say.
Yeah.
Right. I would say the disadvantage of working in an office is the lack of opportunity as an employee you can have.
That's not 100% true, man, because historically people have been working at offices.
Yeah.
And there has always been a company structure that moves employees forward. So regardless of whether you're working in an office or remotely, I don't think those opportunities get dissipated. Because in any company, you have your managers, senior managers, directors, CEOs, whatnot. So you have the company structure that goes up and up and up. And I think it's actually more beneficial to work in-house because your talents get a lot more highlighted, noticed, you network better when you're working in an office. Those perks are probably there. I feel like the biggest disadvantage of working in an office is your lack of freedom. So most of the time, if you're working from, let's say, 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, you probably have work for 4 hours. Realistically.
Yeah.
5 hours of the time, you're watching a movie, you're on YouTube, you're doing something completely unrelated. You're scrolling Facebook.
Sitting on like the office clerk or something. Secretary. Yeah.
Maybe not that, but you're wasting time is the point, right? You're wasting time. So I think that's the biggest disadvantage of being in an office and not having the freedom to work from where you want. Because when you're working remotely, at least one of the benefits I have and I notice is that when I have to do my office work, I sit and do my office work. When I have to do some other work that's my own, I have the freedom to go and do that without anyone, looking over my shoulder.
There is some research that came out. By research, I mean people are talking about it on social media, saying that it's research that people are only 4 hours productive like, scientific
per day.
Yeah. So their argument is if we can just work at home, we can just do those 4 hours, produce more productive work for the company and save ourselves the time.
Yeah. And
even like books and stuff like.
One of the other things I'm noticing about when we look at the advantages or disadvantages of working remotely is that when we work remotely, we don't have a specific time frame to work in. We work all the time. Like I'm working at 7 in the morning, 10 in the night. Sometimes I answer calls at 12, 1 in the morning as well.
Yeah, we had this conversation where it's like you either work hard in a 9 to 5, or you work hard 24/7 with the illusion of freedom.
Correct.
Yeah,
because a 9 to 5,
after
people
5,
shut off after 5. I mean, mostly, yeah, some companies. But when you work remotely, you don't have that choice.
You have to answer the call to make sure you have this job so that you can keep your freedom.
Correct.
Go out with your friends or like attend something else for an hour or 2.
Correct.
Oh, that's nuts.
So technically, if you think about it, you work more hours sometimes if you are working remotely.
But you're happier.
Because of that illusion of freedom. Because actually, if you think about it again, it's like I said, if I want to do something else, I have the freedom to go and do that without someone looking over my shoulder. The 6 months that I worked in a company, I did not have that freedom and I did not like it at all.
Yeah, diving into our personal life, like I think both of us never really liked, and not just both of us, like a lot of people here also, like they don't enjoy 9 to 5 corporate. But
it's different for some people. That there are people who actually enjoy working in a company, nice company structure.
They love organized, like having their life organized.
Correct.
Versus being like us,
A
where
bit
we're
chaotic.
like, do we have sales today? No sales. Today is a loss. Damn. Stuff like that.
It's a bit tricky. So when we are talking about specifically, when we are talking about the IELTS essay itself, so I think we spoke about a couple of points as to why remote working
is beneficial. Yeah.
So specifically when we are talking about why working in an office might be disadvantageous, I think one of the points we can look at is the lack of freedom to do what you want, and then we waste a lot of time in office as well. We waste a lot of time on commute again. There can be a lot of undue pressure that comes from the upper hierarchies. But also, again, if you're looking at an advantage of working in an office, you have like team building activities, you have trainings, you have things like that. I don't know to what extent remote working companies allow that, or not allow that, but have that kind of culture. Like a lot of these remote working companies don't meet up, they don't have like trainings. Whereas if you look at more established companies, trainings are mandatory. They have training budgets for the year that the HR manager has to spend. Whereas in a remote working company, that might not be the case.
So now you're talking about why remote working isn't necessarily the best.
Yeah. So if someone wants to talk about that aspect, that can also be brought up.
So to add to that, I feel like management's going to be a nightmare.
True.
Managing a bunch of employees remotely, with all the communication we have.
And that's the thing, like when managers are hiring, and that's why remote working would work really well for talented employees or hardworking employees.
People who think on their feet and get shit done.
Exactly.
Right.
So even when we are hiring for the team, it's a lot easier for us to hire someone who is already qualified, already experienced, and already very sharp. Those are the kind of employees we have in our team. It's very hard to work with someone who is a bit slow, who doesn't deliver on time. Exactly. Yeah. Very tough to work with people like that. And so I feel like people like that will lose out a lot.
Those guys are part of the workforce. You gotta utilize them. So you have to put them in a company, train them up.
Exactly. So those guys or those kinds of people would be better suited
by those guys. I feel like we were all at some point this guy. But it's a matter of like, do you learn to do shit on your own younger, or is it gonna take more
It's
time?
like this, you can't. We were all this person at some point in life is true.
You probably got over it when you were 15. I probably got over it after I was like 18. And so it depends on which point of the life they have to like start.
That and also which job you're in as well. If I put you in a job that you're not comfortable with, you'd probably be a shitty employee. It would be the same for me. Like if I was in a job where I was really uncomfortable working, again, like I would be really unproductive in a 9 to 5 job situation. And I was, because I was there. I was really, really bad as an employee. Like I wouldn't have hired me. But with the opportunity to work remotely, I feel I'm a lot more productive. I get a lot of work done.
But if you got like an amazing salary, then what would your opinion change? Because let's be honest, Sri Lanka, we get underpaid.
True.
Right? Because technically, like going back to that MA's labor is cheap example, that's why they export their production here. That means the only way that Sri Lanka gets more labor opportunities is if we are kept cheap.
Correct.
Right? Upper management can get paid $1. And they probably do.
Definitely.
So let's say you are now upper management and you get paid $1. Now would you choose 9 to 5, come to office?
See, that's a tricky thing about upper management as well. Upper management does have a lot of freedom. Like you can opt, okay, I'm not going to go to work.
But they still have to be there 9 to 5.
Not really. Some of them come late, they leave
Depends on
early.
the company. Because some companies you print in.
That's also true. I don't know. I wouldn't go to a 9 to 5 job for even a
It's
really,
not
really
fair.
high salary. It's just not
It's
for
just
me.
not fair.
I take a lower salary and just stay at home as opposed to...
I wouldn't say you stay at home. I would say you just want the freedom. Like you would still.
Because I do go to an office, technically.
Yeah.
I do go to an office.
Yeah.
It's just I go...
Our bosses are watching this, but just reminding you.
I don't think they'll make it this far. They might watch
They
like the
see a
first
short
week.
or two and be like, okay, this bugger
This guy.
is not getting a raise anymore. Sheshan, you need to come to like work 9 to 5 from now.
Yeah. No. So we do go to an office.
We do.
But we go when we want to. And again, there's that freedom. Like I go to office because I can't... So if I feel unproductive at home, I go to an office and work. If I feel more productive at home, I'll stay at home and work. So I have that choice of do I want to go to office or not.
Also, this question now applies only to 9 to 5 offices, is it? Because is there parts of the world where they don't work 9 to 5 and it's more like banking sector is 9 to 3?
No, banking sector is 9 to 5. Bank closes at 3, but the employees work till 5.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They work much later.
Okay, teaching. Still 1.
Teaching.
1:30. They're done.
Teaching is interesting, yeah.
But it's not an office. But it is an office. Office is
If you
where you
think
go to
about
work.
it, yeah, teaching is different. So teaching, you teach from what, like 7:30 to 1 o'clock. It's still a 9-hour job.
Is it?
8 hour. You do the math.
6 hours.
6 hours, no? Yeah. But then you have the extracurriculars. Most teachers are in charge of sports.
Yeah.
You have the clubs. So you're there, like it's 7:30 to at least 3:30 is your working time. But see, again, like it depends on whether you enjoy your profession or not as well. Like if you're a teacher, I feel most teachers, I hope, like their job. Because me as a teacher, I love my job.
Yeah.
I love to teach.
Because teaching is one of those things where you can do both. You can do it remotely or you can do it in person, and both can be effective.
Going to school, like again, for me, going to school and teaching might again be quite stressful.
Okay, going to a class and teaching for you. Like for example, you do public speaking. Public speaking, you insist on going to a class and teaching because it's more productive that way.
Yeah.
Versus like IELTS.
But it's a 2-hour class.
Huh?
It's a 2-hour class. Like I could go to a 2-hour class.
Yeah, but anyway, like it's 2-hour class for the student. But if you say like go 2 hours, like I'm gonna have 4 classes a day.
But again, it would happen at my discretion. It would happen at me
versus
wanting to schedule.
Forced to be like
exactly. At a school, you'd be forced to come at
45-minute
7:30.
periods of.
You get scolded by the principal if you don't. You have to write on that blue. That kind of order just doesn't work for me. I just want to. I hate being dictated. You get what I mean? Like I don't want people telling do this.
But
do this, do this.
to address the question we have at hand,
Yeah.
should you have the right for that or?
No, I don't think. I don't think it should be made mandatory by law for companies to let employees work from home.
Let's leave law aside. Let's say like.
So a right would mean law, right?
Yeah.
That's why I said don't dive too deep into this, because then we are just going down a rabbit hole we don't want to explore. So it's better to stick to, okay, what were the advantages, what are the disadvantages, and then
This is why
wrap it off with that. Yeah. Because if you go into the rights issue, then what we are saying is employees, whether the company likes it or not, has the right to stay at home and work. That I don't think should be allowed.
Yeah.
Because there are employees that should come to work. There are employees that if you let them work from home are going to be super unproductive. So it's up to the company to identify that and give...
Or find a happy middle.
If
You're not meeting.
Yeah, some companies have 3 days from office, 2 days from home.
Really?
That kind of structure also works. Alright, so with that being said, I think we discussed both sides of this argument today. And if you are writing an essay with regards to this particular topic, I think we gave quite a bit of points.
Yeah.
So again, like I said, at the exam, it's don't like sit around and think too much about what you're writing. Just understand the question, come up with a quick conclusion about it, or formulate your own opinion about it, and then immediately make a plan and start writing. And I say plan is important again because now see, we discussed how many points? We discussed like 7-8 different points. Now this is brainstorming. We are brainstorming. Now at the exam also you will have ideas like this. So it's important to plan because you need to know, okay, in my first body paragraph, this is what I'm going to write. In my second body paragraph, this is what I'm going to write. When you know exactly what you're going to write, then your essay itself is going to be a free flow. It's going to be smooth. Otherwise, in the middle, if you're trying to think and okay, this point is better, this point is better, this point is better, then you're going to get stuck and waste time. So don't do that. Just 1 point, 1 example, 1 point, 1 example.
Just a last question as student. So you normally recommend, okay, allocate this much time for essay writing.
Correct.
So then how much time should you necessarily take to like think about a question?
It's like this. So you have 40 minutes in total to write your essay, right? So you need to have 5 minutes to plan. So planning would include brainstorming, thinking, all of that. So you have 5 minutes to plan. You have 25 minutes to write, right? Or rather you have about 30 minutes to write. And you have 5 more minutes at the end to check your answer. So you check for your grammar, spellings, punctuation, vocabulary and phrasing. You check those 5 things in the last 5 minutes. If you can write it in 25 minutes, then you have about 10 minutes to check it.
So if you're taking more than 5 minutes to like ideate and stuff, you're probably overthinking things.
So quickly plan 5 minutes and then you have 30 minutes.
PSA golden advice, 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5:35. That's your breakdown.
There you go. Nice.
All right. So with that, we are done with the video. Till our next video. The phrase, bro, come on.
It's
keep practicing.
Keep practicing.
All right. You want to do that again before we?
Okay.
So till our next video.
Keep practicing.
There we go. All right.
I have to keep practicing the outro.